Whoops is a human word. It signifies that a mistake has been made, and usually that the consequences of said mistake are currently being realized. There is one thing about humans that terrifies other intelligent beings. That is their whoops. Humans are definitely the most technologically advanced species in the galaxy. They didn't used to be that way. They were rather primitive when they were first introduced into the Galactic Union, but over several generations they adapted to our technology and began to improve upon it significantly. It's not necessarily true that humans are more intelligent than other species. In fact, some might even argue the opposite is true. Humans are, however, far more daring than other species. They even have a saying for their daringness: act first, ask questions later. It's a saying that encompasses the very nature of humans. This daringness causes humans to, far too often, put their very lives at risk for the purpose of technological improvement. Surprisingly, they often do this for the purposes of living safer and more comfortable lives. They put their lives, sometimes their entire species, at risk to make their life safer and more comfortable. A living contradiction. The word whoops was learned fairly early when interacting with humans. At first it was thought to be a mostly harmless word, simply signifying a simple mistake. Observers often found such mistakes to be humorous. "You should have thought that through a little more," were common remarks made toward this word. These were mistakes like not gripping a cup hard enough so that it slipped and fell and spilled out its contents, or squeezing a semi-solid food packed too hard that it burst and got all over the human and their surroundings, or sometimes drinking or touching something that was too hot and getting hurt. Then one day it happened. The galaxy learned the truly terrifying meaning of the word whoops and many variations. Specifically, the phrase tiny whoopsie has been noted, and the majority of the galaxy has been taught that the phrase tiny whoopsie is a contradiction, as the praise is normally used to refer to a mistake that is neither tiny nor is it a simple whoopsie. Attached is the manuscript of one of the first known uses of the word tiny whoopsie by a human interacting with another species. For context, the human is the leader of an engineering contractor agency that specialized in development and production of new spaceships, mining stations, and are more famous for their construction of large orbital habitats. They were contracted in this case to build a Dyson sphere around a star that would act not only as a massive computer, but a housing structure for an enormous population. This is Jack. I'm calling to provide a status update on the construction of the mega project. Great, it should be near completion. What's the progress report? How close are we to ecological testing? Well, that's the thing. We may have had a tiny whoopsie in the project. Okay, that's no big deal. How long will it take to correct it? Well, correcting it might be a little harder than expected. Okay, what exactly was the mistake, and how much is it going to cost us moving forward? Well, one of our designers accidentally slightly miscalculated the exact strain put on the supports, causing a small cataclysmic failure. Since the project was near completion, most of the mass needed was already in orbit, resulting in the entire structure collapsing into the star and adding mass to create a chain reaction that may or may not have resulted in a black hole forming. That is, did a black hole form? Yes. So not only is the entire project ruined, but the entire system is uninhabitable, and you have effectively destroyed an entire star? Yes. We will end the transcript here, as the language used afterward is extremely unprofessional, crude, and well-deserved. If you thought this was the biggest whoopsie that humans have ever had, then you should think again. There was also the time that they had a tiny whoopsie which opened a wormhole to another galaxy with a super advanced hive mind species that saw all biological life as food. Thankfully, they could not survive that far away from their queen. There was also the time when the humans caused the complete collapse of a higher dimension, creating a chain reaction that somehow made cartoon characters real for a short period of time. There was the time that they created a new superintelligence, Bob, that tried to take over the galaxy. Then there was the time that they tried to kill an evil superintelligence by somehow singing a miniature black hole at it. Well, in the event, the superintelligence didn't predict this outcome, and it worked. It also increased the mass of the black hole and caused it to shoot off in some unknown direction at 0.9% the speed of light. It is still out there and could collide with any planet or system at any time, completely obliterating everything that comes even close to it. Don't even get me started on the species of sentient Cheetos. Thankfully they are friendly and for some reason like to be eaten. That is beside the point. Basically what I'm trying to say is, if you ever hear a human say the word whoopsie, or especially if you hear them use the phrase tiny whoopsie, then you should immediately shout in terror, tuck your tail between your legs, call your family, and say goodbye, then promptly flee for your life. Hey, Gertjes? Yes, Jack, I was just finalizing a report. What is it now? I may have made a tiny whoopsie. End of recording.